Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. Tonight we are recapping the week's nerdy news from Stark Tower to the Daily Planet and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me as always is Steve Haller. Steve, can I kick it?
Yes, you can, Mike. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's not a Patreon, you just missed a wonderful 5-minute comparison from Mike and I on De La Soul's "Can You Kick It" versus Lou Reed's "Walk on the Wild Side." So
Tribe Called Quest.
Jesus,
That's
what started that whole conversation. Is I confirmed it was Tribe Called Quest. You were wondering whether it was them or De La Soul. Holy shit.
I brought up that I always think that it's De La Soul,
Yeah.
but it's actually Tribe Called Quest, and
And
I
then you
I
threw me
poisoned
off.
Steve's mind.
Oh, that's great. That is
Also,
great.
first time in 3 years of this podcast that I didn't say "What's up, Steve?" I think.
It might be. It might be. And also, I believe you confirmed it was really weird hearing me do the intro on Tuesday.
Yes, it was. Very strange.
After the premiere
didn't-
of The Acolyte.
Yes. I missed the most recent episode of this podcast. I wasn't available to record a reaction to The Acolyte, but you may have noticed in your feeds that there is a reaction to the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte hosted by Steve and good friend of the pod and Star Wars fanatic Matt Beseda. Thank you, both of you, very much for handling that while I was unavailable.
Our pleasure.
We'll get my thoughts on The Acolyte a little bit later in the show, not, as in-depth as Steve and Matt went the other day, but we will touch on it just a little bit and talk about it. We also got some Marvel stuff. We got a DC thing. We got comics and all that wonderful stuff. But...
Yeah,
This
and
podcast is sponsored by Funky Town Comics and Vinyl. We should say that. And what
They
else,
are?
Steve, were you going to mention?
I was going to say Funky Town Comics and Vinyl. Wow, that's a mouthful. They're currently closed today, but they would have been open yesterday when we normally record. So apologies for anyone who was looking for us last night and is with us live today. For better or for worse, Mike and I were wrangling a bunch of 6 and 7 and 8 year olds around a battleship over the course of the weekend. So,
Yep.
Yeah, that
It's
was
not an actual battleship.
You skipped like crazy there. Are you playing Battleship?
No, I'm not, but
Is
your mouth
internet?
is off from the sound that I'm hearing.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Hopefully.
Are you at least getting
Probably
sound
quite a delay.
in time?
Now I am. Now the sound has resynced with your mouth.
There we go, and we're back in action.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Any other business before we jump into the rundown here?
No, I think that might be it. We
It
didn't
is
have
too.
anything else in the notes, so I'm gonna go with that's it.
Yeah, we are like slightly, or I'm seeing slightly out of sync sound still. If it becomes a problem, let me know if I need to jump the pod and restart my computer, even though I just did that right before we started recording. It's an old computer, so who knows? But Steve, also, you did mention our Patreon, and that is available for people that would like to hear and or participate in us debating whether or not Can I Kick It or Walk on the Wild Side is a better song. You can do that if you kick us some money per month.
For the
We got
record,
commentaries and all that
I'm
kind
going to
of stuff.
spoil that one. Can You Kick It? Definitively won between the two of us.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a debate. It
No.
was what do you think is better? And we both landed immediately on the
Right.
Tribe Called Quest.
And for almost exactly the same reasons. So that worked out well.
Yeah, it's just the right vibe, man.
Yeah.
It's a good vibe.
No shade on Syracuse I guess former Syracuse resident Lou Reed, but
Oh yeah, that's right. He has been inducted into the Syracuse Music Award Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was at his induction ceremony, and his his wife or partner or whatever gave a very wonderful, very, 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 very long speech.
there's nothing worse than a long induction speech.
Yeah, I mean it's Lou Reed. It's warranted.
Right.
I would
Fair
say.
enough.
But still. Anyway, enough of that. Enough of that. we're here to talk nerdy news. Was it a big week for nerdy news? No, not at all. But we did get some good stuff, I think. A couple, I don't know, on the bigger side of things, I would think.
I think there's a couple of pieces of news that will lead to some good what if scenarios and discussion.
Agreed, for sure. Starting with this one,
Mhm.
top of the list. Apparently, according to Deadline, Sean Levy, director of Night at the Museum movies,
Yeah.
and the upcoming Deadpool and Wolverine.
And
Sean Levy is in
seemingly all things Ryan Reynolds, since he was and Hugh
Yep.
Jackman, because he did Real Steel, didn't he?
That's true. He did do Real Steel with Hugh Jackman, and he's done a number of movies with Reynolds, I think. He is currently in talks to direct the next Avengers film. That's right. Currently called Avengers 5. Used to be called Avengers Kang Dynasty. But then it was discovered that Jonathan Majors is a huge piece of shit, and they let him go from his role of Kang, dropping the plot of Avengers 5 for what my guess is a radically new plot line.
Yeah, there's got to be
or at least maybe a similar plot led by a different villain, for sure.
Yeah, although it's one of those where how do you take what Kang would have done and make that into someone else? I mean, inherently, your first brain goes to Doom. Your first brain, yeah, I can talk.
Your first brain.
Yep.
Yeah.
Second brain goes to Doom as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be weird to see exactly how that pans out.
But also, like, we don't really know what Kang was doing.
True.
Or was planning on doing. All we know is there was a bunch of him at the end of Ant-Man and Quantumania.
There were, including some familiar ones.
That's it. We don't know like what he was going to do with all them, or if they were even going to factor into the plot. And as Steve, you and I have said so many times before, phases 4 and 5 of the MCU seemingly rather aimless when it comes to directing us all towards a central through line plot or story arc, like phases 1 through 3 of the MCU did. So honestly, I think there's either plenty of threads they could decide to pick up and run with, or they could just give us a new thing and we'd be fine with it, I think. I don't think it necessarily has to. There's no, I don't think, from my memory, there's no strong enough thread that's hanging out there right now that we're all like, oh, this is definitely going to be the plot of Avengers 5. Like, no one really knows.
Right.
Like, we all knew, like, we were building towards the Infinity Stones.
Well, and
Infinity
even
Saga. We all knew that.
Even when it was Kang Dynasty, we know that's a catchy name, but we didn't know whether or not that was actually going to, like, remotely touch the Kang Dynasty storylines from the books. Because
exactly,
that's what Marvel seems to do, is find a catchy storyline and build a plot around it.
Or they just pick a good title when it's a good title. Like Age of Ultron, they admitted, like, we just like the title. It's not.
It happened to have Ultron, and we liked the title.
And we needed a cool title for our movie. Yeah. So who knows? Who knows? But now it's not going to be Kang. It could be anything. It could be anything. So
Doom Dynasty, Galactus Dynasty,
and that's the thing. So moving on just slightly, before I'll come back to what you were hinting at a second here. Apparently, Levy is in early conversations with Marvel about helming Avengers 5. They have sent him the most recent version of the script, penned by Michael Waldron. Studio
who is also, for the record, the second writer on the project, because originally it was Jeff Loveness.
Correct. When it was Kang Dynasty, and when it was going to be directed by Dustin Daniel Cretton.
Yep. From
Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings. Studio is still meeting with other directors, but Levy's their top choice, is according to Deadline. So if Levy says no, they want to have like a backup director to go to. Now, it is being rumored also that this film could see the return of 60 or more Marvel Cinematic Universe characters, including possibility of having multiple antagonists. So not just Thanos, not just Loki or whatever, could be multiple antagonists to have defeat. If you got 60 or more MCU characters, then yeah, give them more than one person to be punching.
So, mm,
Now,
sorry,
the multiple antagonist thing is what I thought of when you were saying could be Doom, could be Galactus, because this Avengers 5 is scheduled to come out after Fantastic Four.
yeah.
So by the time this comes out, those characters could be in play for being the big bad in Avengers 5. Now, it could be, we know that Galactus is the main villain of Fantastic Four, but if that introduces Doctor Doom or sets up Doctor Doom to become the main antagonist in an Avengers movie, I think that could be possible. That could be the way they go.
Or do they? Does something happen with Galactus? He's set off to the side for a while, and the end of it introduces the Beyonder, and sets this up directly as Secret Wars. Not, you know how they broke, Infinity War Endgame into two films.
Mhm.
Maybe they set up Battle World and the Secret Wars storyline. If they're gonna have 60 antagonists or 60 returning characters,
Yeah.
multiple antagonists, my brain says if you're heading towards Secret Wars, that sounds a hell of a lot like Secret Wars to me.
Set it up. Do it right.
So
Don't smush all of Secret Wars into one movie. Like, give us some breadcrumbs here.
right.
Set it up so we don't feel overwhelmed
I
by
think
the amount of.
that would physically hurt if they tried to shove Secret Wars, like all of that, into one movie.
Hey, superhero movies have been known to try to do too much
No,
in the past.
never.
Yeah.
They've never done that, Mike. Come on.
I am not inherently excited about the return of 60 or more MCU characters factoid, just because I feel like, I don't know, listeners of this podcast, you all know where I'm at the MCU. Like, I'm still in. I'm gonna watch it, but I'm getting a little tired of the like I was just talking about. Like, there's no like thrust of a story arc, or like seemingly nothing's really being connected or set up for an eventual thing, which is why we fell in love with this franchise to begin with. I really felt the lack of that, and so I'm kind of like, all right, what are we doing? So I kind of spinning our wheels. So just like you telling me, just like, all these characters are coming back, isn't that exciting? I'm like, no, it's not exciting until I know what they're doing. Yeah, give me a story that is exciting. The story is what's going to excite me, not necessarily the characters. And if those 60 include like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and Hugh Jackman, I'm even less excited, because I've also said a million times, I'm sick of multiverse stuff. I just want characters to just be the characters. I want new versions of characters that move forward with a new story. I don't want to dig up old actors and bring them back anymore. Like, that was cool for a while.
Right.
Now I just want new stuff. Please move forward. I'm sick of this. But we'll see. It's called the Multiverse Saga.
I mean,
so their hands may be tied.
We do have that literally in our podcast name, Mike.
Well, that's because we're reporting on different universes.
Oh, okay.
We're not trying to mush a bunch of them together to make one thing, you know?
Well, speaking of multiverses and making, do we think, gonna sound weird, do you think maybe they, coming out of Phase 6, soft reboot this? If we're getting introduced to the 4 and weird things are happening, could we maybe actually use the multiverse thing in a positive way story-wise and introduce the Maker and create Phase 7 starting off the Ultimates and like break it into something completely new, as long as it moves the story forward or creates even a unified story?
Here's what I think. Personally, I think that sounds cool. And I think it's probably not a bad way for them to go. Especially if they're not able to get a hold of if they're not able to increase their quality.
Yeah.
Which, in my opinion, has been low with a couple jumps here and there. But overall, lesser than it was originally, or I'm just sick of the MCU in general, and they've always been bad. I don't know. Maybe
Right.
maybe a little bit of both. Who knows?
Well, no,
Who knows?
we can confirm we both rewatched Winter Soldier, and that is at least a very good movie.
Yes, although I did think the third act got a little marvelly, but at the time when it
yes.
came out, it was probably the first one that felt that
Yeah,
way,
100%.
and then all the other movies was just
Yeah.
I got really skippy again, didn't I?
A little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a chance for them to come out of this, especially coming out of something like Secret Wars, with a wild alteration and shift and being able to just wipe the slate clean.
I think so. And like I was saying, I think that's a cool idea and I would be open to that. But do you really think that Kevin Feige and the people at Marvel and Disney would take that big of a risk and literally get rid of everything that they've built up and get rid of all the actors that have already been cast and literally start fresh? Do you think they would take that big of a risk?
Well, I mean, to be fair, you wouldn't have to get rid of all the actors. Like, they could just play different versions of themselves.
True.
Who Pedro Pascal could be the maker. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's nothing saying that can't happen, or that, also coming out of that, you're looking into X-Men territory. You could just fire up Ultimate X-Men and run with that, or even regular X-Men, just because it is a fresh, clean, restart. It opens up miles. It opens up a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, it does.
Tom Holland's getting pretty old to be playing a high schooler. Although he still looks like he's 12.
He does. I'm cool with a reboot of the MCU.
Yeah,
for sure. But I don't know that the higher ups at Disney would be down for taking that big of a risk. Now, you mentioned X-Men, and we still don't know when we're going to see any X-Men. We know that they've been meeting with writers, or they were in talks with somebody. I don't remember the guy's name. We talked about it a week or two ago.
Oh yeah. It was a guy that was relatively green, from what we could get.
He had written. Oh, he wrote the Assassin's Creed movie and the Hunger Games prequel that just came out.
Yeah. So one that was like, okay, sure, that is a credit, and the other was like, okay, that's fine. That makes sense. You're looking at that guy at least,
right? But according to the Hot Mic podcast, Scooper Jeff Snyder said this week that he has heard that Jordan Peele, writer, director, auteur, filmmaker Jordan Peele, has met with Marvel in regards to the X-Men. Now, he was very specific on the podcast that I listened to, saying that doesn't necessarily mean that he's in talks to direct. Maybe he's in talks to write or be a writer or be some kind of contributor or contributing producer or whatever. But if they already have this writer lined up, maybe it is looking more like Jordan Peele directing. Either way, if Jordan Peele is going to make an X-Men movie, well, here, I'll say it like this. If this is true, I think Jordan Peele is a great call for writing and or directing an X-Men movie. I think that he has proven himself as a director, obviously he specializes in horror films, but he's certainly a very gifted director, and all of his scripts have had to do with social commentary of some kind. A lot of times racism, which certainly is a part of the X-Men lore,
right?
Just with a different
Directly
twist on it.
The fabric.
Yeah, and his most recent film, Nope, I think is an absolute masterpiece, and that's a lot about like social commentary on everyone wanting to be famous and being seen all the time and things like that. So like he's tapped into like cultural fads and things and what's going on and changes and shifts in culture, and is able to make great social commentary in his films. So that alone makes me think that he would be a great director for the X-Men. So if this is true, again, this is a rumor. This is not confirmed, only by the Hot Mic podcast. So if it's true, I think it'd be a great choice for directing. And I guess more on that as it develops. Do you have any thoughts on Jordan Peele as a X-Men director?
Not really. I know you're much more well versed in his work than I would be.
Yeah.
Saying I haven't seen any of it.
Oh, you haven't
no,
seen
I
Get
saw,
Out?
I saw Get Out. Yep.
Okay, yeah. Get Out's a must see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, I know I just said this, but I think Nope is a masterpiece.
Okay.
It's such a good movie.
That was the one from last year or 2 years ago, right?
A few
his
years
most
ago.
recent or close to it.
Yeah, it's like an alien flying saucer movie.
Oh, okay.
But it's kind of like, it feels like a Spielberg movie, the way it's shot and made, and it's like, it's scary for sure, but it's also times where it's like really exciting and fun. You're watching these characters try to figure out what they're up against and what to do, kind of like you're watching Jaws or something, and they're like chasing the shark, and it's like an adventure at the same time, you know.
The
really good movie.
Weird evolution of Jordan Peele, like, to when I think of Jordan Peele, I still think of Key and Peele. Like, that's where my brain immediately goes, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, he's an extremely accomplished like director.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
crazy to think that this guy who was, one level above fart jokes and made a career out of it, and like, albeit extremely hilarious ones. Kudos to him. He definitely stepped it up, and
he contains multitudes.
I mean,
for sure.
Keegan-Michael Key as well.
Yeah, great actor. Yeah.
So, I actually, what was it, Wonka? It was just. Did you see the new Wonka?
Oh, I did not see Wonka.
It was really good, and
yeah. Oh, okay.
Key was he was just hilariously placed in a role that he was perfect in.
Oh, awesome.
So worked out well. That was a great movie too.
Nice.
Didn't expect to enjoy Paul Atreides singing, but it worked great.
Well, speaking of well-cast roles, this isn't too much news, but I thought it was cool. Tim Blake Nelson, character actor extraordinaire, was talking a little bit this week about his returning to the MCU as the leader. A tease. We're finally getting some kind of payoff from a tease from a movie that came out 15 years ago or so.
Yeah, that most people don't acknowledge came out.
Yeah, Tim Blake Nelson was a character, Samuel Stearns, in The Incredible Hulk, starring Ed Norton, back when Ed Norton was the Hulk, before he was recast with Mark Ruffalo. And in that movie, he gets a little bit of Dr. Banner's blood dropped into his head wound or something, and
Something like that.
His head is starting to like bulge out. And I remember in the theater, I lost my mind when they did it. This is, incredibly early days of the MCU, literally the second
movie.
MCU movie ever. And
this was still before there was an MCU.
Yeah. Yeah. They were just like seeing what they could do.
Right. Because that was still a Paramount, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
does have a cameo from Robert Downey Jr. But they didn't put it after the credits. They put it before the credits just so they wanted to make sure people saw it. But anyway, lost my mind at a leader tease, and now it's only been 15, 16 years later. He gave an interview where he was asked about it, and he said, "It's been very exciting to bring back a character from 16 years ago and imagine how he has aged with me and how that has manifested. The Marvel team has come up with a really interesting explanation, a revelation, I should say, as to what he's been up to for 16 years and why." Now, that is the question, because if he transformed into a giant green, big-brained leader at the end of Incredible Hulk, or at least began his transformation then, where has he been, and where was he during Infinity War and Endgame and all that stuff? So good to know that there'll be some kind of thought behind his reemergence. And then also regarding the visual effects of the character in the movie, he said this: "I can tell you about my character is that we did everything that we could. And this was entirely supported by Marvel. I'm so grateful to Kevin Feige and Nate Moore for supporting this. They were on board 100% to do the character as practically as possible with an absence of digital stuff." I think that is very cool.
Yeah.
that they're going to put a prosthetic brain on the guy's head instead of, CGIing everything to death, which, in my opinion, they have done in the past. Relied a little too heavily on CGI instead of practical effects. So, I'm down for just a guy with a weird looking brain on the top of his head. Awesome.
It is a weird looking brain on top of his head.
Any thoughts on the leader? Personally, a fan of him as a villain, and he's mostly a villain, of course. And sub question: do you think the leader could end up being a bigger villain in something like an Avengers 5?
I think he could definitely be one of the 60.
Sure.
Or one of the however many antagonists there are.
Yeah.
I would assume that he isn't going to be completely taken care of in Brave New World.
Yes. Brave New World. Captain America 4. Yep.
I always hesitate because I keep wanting to say New World Order because that's what it was for a long time.
Yeah.
And Brave New World to me is just the Aldous Huxley book, and I can't whatever. I mean, he was always fine in I never had a major draw to the leader in comics.
Yeah.
But he was always where he was placed always worked well.
Yeah.
Anything I ever read from him was never something that amazingly stuck with me, but I never said, "Oh, this is hot trash."
Yeah, no, I feel like I haven't read too much stuff with him as a villain, but I know in my limited understanding of him or experience with him, I feel like he's kind of like Brainiac, where he's not a get down and fight you guy. He's like, I'm going to plot around you, and I'm just super smart, and it's hard for you to stop me because I'm connected to all these things somehow. So definitely a different way to go, but I could see him teaming up with somebody that's got a little more muscle behind him, and if they wanted to put him in Avengers 5. The other villain that
he did make some appearances in Thunderbolts by the look of it too.
Oh,
maybe there's a tie-in.
Maybe there is a tie-in. The other villain that I feel like could possibly show up in Avengers 5 is Magneto.
Yeah.
Never know. We keep hearing what's that guy's name? I feel like every month we get some kind of rumor that he's met with Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah. Who is apparently going to show up in Brave New World in his new role, whatever it is.
Oh, is that official?
I want to say that was it this week or last week that came out? I think it was
I thought it was just a rumor that he had. I thought it was another one of those where he met with Marvel.
No,
but
Variety
I didn't know that
reports,
he'd been actually cast.
Variety reported that he joined Captain America: Brave New World.
Wow.
In a undisclosed villain role.
Interesting. Well, that could be anything from just a army general to, Magneto himself or whatever.
I feel like he probably wouldn't hype it up as much if it wasn't something big, but
true. But he also, if you'll remember, Steve, months ago, he said at some Comic-Con that he appeared at that he had been talking to James Gunn about the DC universe too.
Yeah.
So he may be somebody that's walking between two worlds.
Yeah.
Because he said that he did not want to play a villain. He said he'd rather play a hero because he's played so many villains before. So
was
maybe
that for
he's
DC? Or because I know
DC. I remember he said that in conjunction with DC.
Right. For Marvel, he 100% has come out and said he wanted to be Magneto at one point.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why he said the thing about with DC that he doesn't want to play a villain because he knew he was playing a villain in the MCU. Maybe he knew that already at that time. I'd rather be a hero. Interesting stuff all around. Speaking,
he also came out and said that he thinks the fan casting of him as Professor X and Denzel as Magneto would be great.
I hadn't heard the other half of that. Denzel I hadn't heard that, but I do think that would be great.
I mean, you put good actors in good places and they do good things.
They do good things. Give them good material and look at it done.
That's true because, without that last part, you end up with Attack of the Clones.
Yes, you sure do. That's exactly what I was thinking when I said those words.
I figured you were.
Having just listened to a podcast all about why that movie is simultaneously an astonishing achievement in filmmaking and also pile of hot trash.
Oh, okay. So
What?
I stand corrected. I did just look it up. He had stated he would like to play for Professor X, not Magneto.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Although I feel like he would be a better Magneto than Professor X.
He would, I think he would be good at both of those roles,
Yeah,
to be honest with
I
you.
can see that.
But we know that he's a good villain. So yeah, he'd be a good
Sinister?
Magneto for sure. Oh,
I don't know. I don't. Sinister's. I guess it depends on which version of Sinister. Like, there's been a couple of different versions of Sinister.
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a little old for Sinister.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he doesn't really age.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if you want old, Nathaniel Essex is pretty goddamn old.
Yeah.
But
True.
still.
But not.
Yeah.
Doesn't look it.
Right.
Doesn't look it. Speaking of James Gunn's DCU,
Mm.
we got some castings for James Gunn's DCU. He's first of all, he is really rounding out the newsroom of the Daily Planet. Apparently, for Superman, he has cast Beck Bennett from former Saturday Night Live cast member as Steve Lombard, Michaela Hoover, voice of the Flora the Rabbit in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, has been cast as Cat Grant, and Christopher McDonald,
Buffalo
Happy Gilmore.
native.
That's right. Has been cast as Ron Troop. And these three, Steve Lombard, Cat Grant, Ron Troop, all named characters from Superman comic books. Steve Lombard is like a just another kind of sports or not necessarily a sports reporter, but like another reporter in the newsroom, kind of like a a foil to Clark Kent, maybe. Cat Grant, pretty big, significant role in some Superman stories. Was played by Callista Flockhart in the Supergirl CW series. And Christopher McDonald's Round Trop, just another he's more of like an a-hole kind of reporter from what I remember.
Christopher McDonald. What he
exactly.
stereotypically plays. Yep.
Exactly. So this is interesting to me because I feel like we've never had this many named characters in the Daily Planet before. I feel like at least for films, for live action Superman films, Clark working at the Daily Planet has always just been like, yeah, he works at the Daily Planet because the comic books say he works at the Daily Planet, but it's not really going to be a plot point. If for anything, it's a plot point for Lois. It's like Lois is investigating a story and Superman has to save her because of that. Or like Lois is in this location because she's there for a story.
Right. Whereas Clark at the Daily Planet might have been a total of like 15 minutes of screen time over the course of all of the movies.
Right. Yeah. Like they try to do it a little in like the extended version of Batman v Superman. He's like investigating the Batman story, but like that whole movie just doesn't make sense really on any level. So I'm gonna skip over that real quick. But I think if you are casting, because you're casting like these aren't like big actors, but they've all been in other stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like these are like you'll recognize Beck Bennett, you'll recognize Christopher McDonald. Maybe you might not recognize Michaela Hoover, but she's worked with James Gunn a bunch and she's been in stuff. She's been in sitcoms and she's been in movies and things like that. So like these are, they're not nobodies. And if you are surrounding your main characters with other named actors and named characters, significant characters from the comics, then that tells me that there's going to be a significant focus on Clark's job at the Daily Planet as part of this movie, which like if you can give me some kind of like through line of investigative journalism for Clark and like make that part of the story or like
right.
Have that be like the thrust of the plot or something like that. Like he's using that to try to like figure something out or whatever. I don't know. Like the focus on that is exciting to me because it means you're diving into a significant part of the character's story that hasn't really been explored in live action films ever. And I hope that's true. I hope that's why they're doing this. So down for that. Down for some Superman meets investigative journalism stories. Also, just came out, I think yesterday, actually, pretty recent announcement that James Gunn has also cast 2 more people for Peacemaker Season 2. David Denman, who played Roy in The Office, been cast in Peacemaker Season 2 in an undisclosed role. But Sol Rodriguez, she has been cast as Sasha Bordeaux. Sasha Bordeaux, this is an interesting casting. Sasha Bordeaux is primarily an ally to Batman in DC Comics.
Batman's bodyguard, right?
She was initially, hired as Bruce Wayne's bodyguard.
Well, yeah.
Bruce
I don't
Wayne
think Batman himself needs a bodyguard per se.
Right, correct. I think Alfred was insistent upon it for some reason, and keeps up appearances. He's a billionaire. He probably would have a bodyguard in real life, despite not actually needing one because he's Batman. She was also a love interest of Batman's for a little bit. Eventually, for a while, was working side by side with the character of Maxwell Lord, who we also know has been cast and was being played by Sean Gunn in Superman and probably extended other elements of the DCU. So there's a connection there. And she also has been involved in Wonder Woman book and things like that too. So Sasha Bordeaux is a character that's kind of all over the DCU, or fits different pockets of it, fits into different pockets of the DCU. So I think putting her in Peacemaker might be a way to introduce her as a character and have her show up in other things later on. So that's exciting to me.
There you
sure.
go. No, it seems like anything involving Peacemaker Season 2, I'm 100% fine with. That just seems great.
So they can do anything they want with that show because it's weird as hell.
It's weird as hell, and it's pretty damn good. So
yeah, I really got to watch Season 1 again. I really got to revisit that.
I don't have enough time to watch Season 1 again. There's too many other things that I need to watch.
Neither do I, Steve.
Yeah.
Neither do I.
Yeah. But
speaking of watching stuff.
Yep.
We all watched a little show called The Acolyte. At least the first 2 episodes of it. Episode 3 will come up tomorrow.
Right. And by we all, you mean we all, because Star Wars The Acolyte is officially the most streamed show on Disney Plus this year, or the most streamed show or streamed premiere on Disney Plus.
How many people watched it, Steve?
Originally, first day of streaming, 4.8 million people, and within 5 days, 11.1 million. So to put that in context, Ahsoka last year was the winner of that 5-day title at 14 million. So for a Star Wars title with literally 0 tie-ins and nobody knowing what the hell it was, to end up with 11.1, seems like people are enjoying it, or at least inquisitive.
Now, Steve, you got to explain this to me, because I've seen people online saying that The Acolyte is nothing but a bunch of woke garbage, and that Disney is using it to ruin Star Wars and make Star Wars, some kind of something that feeds into the woke leftist agenda, and that it shouldn't have people of different races, or shouldn't have women in it, and all this kind of stuff. So if the show's that bad, how are so many people watching the show?
Because those people can go shit in a hat.
Oh, because those people are stupid bigots.
Yeah, that'd be it.
That's right.
Nailed it.
Right. I got some of that firsthand in the last week, as I had I randomly posted something about a positive take on, I think the majority of the Star Wars fan base are good people, was the basis of my post.
I mean, and then you were proven wrong. No,
I wasn't
proven right, but the vocal minority said otherwise.
It got more likes than it's got hundreds of likes. I've never gotten anything close to that on
traction-wise
Threads at all. I think I get maybe 2 likes max for the entirety I've been on Threads. This one blew up, and apparently, if you get that many likes, you do start attracting the toxic, terrible Star Wars fans that I was talking about in that very post, coming right for my throat. So, and they're a bunch of garbage people. So, I just want to get that out of the way. The show's great. Yeah. I like it a lot. I thought it was very good. very excited to just be watching a Star Wars thing that I know nothing about. I have no idea what's going to happen. I just can't predict it.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time since I've seen a Star Wars thing where I have no clue what's going to happen. I think the closest thing would be The Last Jedi, where I thought I knew it was going to happen and I radically was wrong.
Yeah.
And even though, like, still, I was like, well, you know, these certain characters aren't going to die. You know, this person's going to be, you know, what, like, there were certain, like, obvious things, like,
Right.
Kylo Ren's
broad
going to
strokes that
be a
you're gonna
bad
know.
guy.
Yeah.
Rey is going to, you know, learn that she's the hero or whatever, you know, I don't know, like certain very vague
we're
things.
at phase 2 of the hero's journey. Let's move it along.
Right.
Yep.
But now here we are with characters that I don't even know
Mhm.
at all. So I can't even really predict how these characters are going to act or what they're going to say or what they're going to do. And that's really exciting to me because it still looks like Star Wars. It still feels like Star Wars and still is Star Wars.
And this is what we've been calling for a long time. I mean, about 3
Yeah.
years on this podcast of like,
Yep.
there's a giant ass galaxy. Go explore it.
Yeah. Go back in time. And this is like we've said this before in comparing Star Wars to Marvel, where Star Wars has this advantage where they're stretched over such a huge long timeline. They can tell all these different stories and not worry about bumping into each other. Whereas Marvel has kind of had this problem of like all their characters pretty much exist at the same time in the same place. So crossovers are hard to explain when they don't happen, kind of like, well,
Right.
why didn't you just call Iron Man for this or whatever, you know, that kind of thing. But you know, the storytelling opens up when you're telling a story that's hundreds of years in the past from anything that we've ever seen. So you can do whatever you want and it doesn't have to involve any characters. It doesn't have to set up anything. It doesn't have to get out of the way of any other story. And now we're seeing that really for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's very, very exciting.
No,
'cause even like Mandalorian, like, yeah, it's after Return of the Jedi, they can do whatever they want, but they can't do so much that it cancels out whatever happens in Force Awakens or something, you know? So
100%.
yeah. But this wide open.
Well,
wide open.
and that's the case even if you've been keeping up on the High Republic, like at this point, Vernestra Row is the only through line to any
Yeah.
of the prior properties. So right now we're still working with, you know, completely novel, you know, literally novel storytelling.
Yeah.
I didn't mention it on the other one for somehow on the other podcast, but I had a visceral reaction when I saw the Jedi Vector ship that was when Yord and his Padawan, whoever it was that never showed up again.
Jackie?
No, the one that didn't show up again when they were going to.
Oh, that's right. Jackie is Saul's Padawan.
Jackie is Saul's Padawan.
Yeah.
But when they were going to arrest Osha,
Yes.
when they showed up, that ship they showed up on was a Vector, which was the High Republic version of the Jedi Starfighter.
That's cool.
In the comics and in the books, they're very, very cool ships, designed basically to have minimal controls, and for the Jedi to use, like, they're designed for the Jedi to use the Force to pilot them.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So
wow,
good stuff.
Yeah, I did like you know, the design of the ships not really being reminiscent of anything we've ever seen because hundreds of years
right
previously. So designs have changed, things have changed, and I like that because it still felt like Star Wars. You know,
100%.
I don't need a TIE fighter for it to be Star Wars.
Oh, you know what? The other thing people have been bitching about is the Sith showing, or well, Sith adjacent or Sith character showing up.
Yeah,
they're like, oh well, you know, if that's a Sith, that breaks the rule of two, and it's like, really? Like, did we not live through? Like, we've heard stories of Palpatine to Dooku to Asajj. She was his acolyte. Like, this does not break anything, people.
No, because it's like, who are they? Oh, who are they saying is the other one? We only
I think what the assumption is that the Sith that we saw was the apprentice, and this is an acolyte of the apprentice.
The Sith with the red lightsaber,
right? That
is
May
the apprentice.
That May is an acolyte of.
So then, who's the master?
Right, that's the thing. Like, we've only seen two Sith.
Yeah, so we don't know.
Well,
And I've seen people saying like, they say in Phantom Menace that the Sith haven't existed in 1,000 years. And you're right, they do. They do say that.
Obi-Wan
but-
also said that fucking Luke's father died in the Clone Wars.
Right. But like the point of Phantom Menace is that when they say that, they're wrong. Like that's the point.
Yes, it is.
They're wrong. Because there's two. And we know that they're wrong because those two, that one and then New Apprentices take over the galaxy 2 movies later.
There's 2 of them.
So,
oh wait,
yeah.
no, wrong quote, but it works.
Wrong quote, but yes.
Also, they did. I'd assume you noticed immediately that they mildly corrected the Nemoidians' speech patterns.
They did. Yeah. I could tell that it seemed like they were probably still voiced by Asian actors, but they just weren't doing like
The over-the-top,
super
ridiculous,
racist,
yeah.
stereotypical. Yeah.
So
Ugh.
there's that.
So they, and I think you and Matt talked about this a little bit too on reaction, but the puppetry on those or movements or suits or however they did it, VFX, like way better than in Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. And those, like, they moved way more naturally, I thought. Cool seeing a yellow lightsaber in live action. I think you guys mentioned that. You didn't really mention Pip. You mentioned him real quick, but like a handheld droid.
Yeah.
It's the first time we've seen a handheld droid. I think that's pretty cool. Cool idea.
Completely non-autonomous too. Can't move on his own.
Right. Yeah. Which is just interesting. And like, I get why it makes sense for droids to be able to move by themselves, but also to have a little like gadget version that can talk to you.
Yeah. Still
pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm down with this. My wife and I, we called the twin thing early on because Amanda Sternberg, after that opening scene, when they go to arrest her, like she's not giving it away at all. I was like, wow, she's like, does she not remember? Because the way she's playing this, playing this like she is innocent, like she believes she's innocent, and I believe that actress. And I was like, something's up. She's not even hinting at it at all. She's not giving it away. She's not attacking them. She's like, what is happening? And we were like, oh, maybe there's like a clone or a twin thing happening. So
about I think just after that initial scene with Yord and the person we can't remember the name of, I think right after that is when it dawned on me. Like through that whole thing, I was like, maybe mental dissociation, maybe something else is going on. Like, didn't dawn on me twins, and then I was like, wait a minute, might be. And then they said it. I'm like, okay, yep, was right.
Okay, yeah,
or not was right, but like that explains it.
Yeah. I think it looks really great. It's like I think it's shot really well. All the action was like really clear. Like there was no question as to where anybody. Like sometimes you lose people in a fight scene, or you're not sure like how did they dodge that if their back was turned. You know, like sometimes they like. It's not
some
like,
wonky something or other.
It can be messy
just for
sometimes.
choreography's sake.
Exactly. Yeah, but this is like really cleanly shot. You can tell all the, you can tell what's happening in the fight. Not like, it's well done. It's not lazy or anything. So
I believe,
anyway,
I believe the Multiverse Report did call that Carrie-Anne Moss was going to be a pretty quick exit.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, we did call that we predicted that exact thing, that she was going to be in the opening scene and she was going to get killed and that she was going to be the catalyst. Her death would be the catalyst for the rest of the series. Called it. Multiverse Report exclusive. Go back, look it up. I think I put it on I think it's on our Instagram.
Actually, it might be.
Go back to our reels and check it out. Called it.
So I'd assume she shows up quite a bit more in like flashbacks, but.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to have a bunch of exposition as to what in the hell happened.
That's true. We probably will get some kind of Force vision or flashback to show whatever happened that put these 4 Jedi on her hit list, on OSHA's hit list.
Yep. No, on May's hit list, not on OSHA's.
Sorry, May's hit list. I saw a very funny. I wish I remember the name of the person that posted it, but somebody on Thread said something like, my favorite part of the Acolyte is that in the beginning, this woman is out on a spaceship trying to fix a problem with minimal tools and minimal protection and no safeguards whatsoever, and her name is OSHA.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Very
perfect.
funny. Yeah. Anyway, you got a comic to review? I think we're into comic time.
I do. I found the comic I lost, and by found
Oh,
I mean I
yeah.
went down to Jesse and said I lost it, and he gave me
All
a
right.
new one.
We got it back, folks.
Yeah.
What do we-
So if anyone's new to the pod, every week, our good friends down at Funky Town Comics and Vinyl, hey, I said it right that time, provide Mike and I a comic to review on the pod. This week, mine was Falling in Love on the Path to Hell, which last week I literally took from Jesse. The two of us think, because I had left my phone at the store, that I had put the book down on the counter as well. So we're thinking that I just left it at the store. So he may have only given me one copy. Either way, I didn't know where the hell it was last week. This week I did find it. It is a indie from Jerry Duggan and Gary Brown that is effectively a story of a female samurai and a male gunslinger that both effectively die and then are transported on the path to hell together.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of weird, like, I mean, not weird, but there's a whole lot of solid setup prior, as far as how they come to their ultimate demises. You see each perspective, starting with the gunslinger, then the samurai, and then at the end you're setting up, or it sets up the two of them meeting effectively, and then I'd assume the two of them will have romps and whatnot against the undead and the dying and whatnot.
Nice. Cool.
So ultimately, really cool art. The style,
A+ title alone.
oh,
A+.
100%.
Yeah.
So I thought it was pretty cool. Great concept, like very,
yeah,
it's kind of satire-y, but not like over the top. Yeah, I don't know. It was just, it looked great. The action was cool. It was easy to follow. I think it did a lot of the setting a baseline, and that it would move forward from there.
Awesome. Cool,
So,
cool.
It was pretty cool.
My review this week is not a new book,
Okay.
but it could be new to you. Do you remember maybe a week or two ago in our listing of what was coming out in your local comic book store? I mentioned that Image was doing a thing where they were re-releasing a lot of their number one issues for a lot of their well-known titles.
Yeah, I saw like Stray Dogs and a couple others that were out there.
For sure. One of them is the one I'm reviewing this week, where I had never read issue 1 of The Department of Truth.
Okay.
By James Tynion IV, and Martin Simmons is the artist.
Yeah, I think both of us had said we wanted to hit that at some point and never did.
I remember when this came out, there was some buzz around it. But I was like, I don't know.
Right.
It's conspiracy theory. I'm not super interested in that kind of thing. First of all, the art is really cool. It's very like scratchy and dirty looking kind of stuff.
I mean, very actually relatively similar to the comic I read.
Yes, yeah, from what I saw of it, yeah. And I thought this was great. I thought this was really good. I'm not going to spoil anything. But the basic plot is that there is a guy who works for the FBI who saw something that he should not have seen, and is being interrogated by a mysterious government agency, not the FBI. And he's recounting the story of what he saw in this interrogation, thinking the whole time that after he's done talking, these people are going to kill him. They are not. They are recruiting him for their team, which is called the Department of Truth. The person that is interrogating him is revealed at the end of the book as somebody that you know from history.
Okay.
In a way that I was reading it and I went, whoa, at the end. And my wife goes, oh, what happened? You okay? Like from across the room, I'm like, oh yeah, no, it was a really cool ending of this book. So anyway, so yeah, you can get issue 1 right now of the Department of Truth. You can get on the ground floor. If you're not sure if you want to, by now it's got to be in a collected edition. There's got to be trade paperbacks of this book.
Yeah, I think at least
At least one.
Yeah.
There's got to be at least one. But it's been going on for a year, over a year, I think. So there's probably maybe a couple of years. So I don't know.
Right.
Maybe more than one already available. But if you're not sure if you want to jump in and get the trade, you can jump in. And by the way, these only cost $1. They're issue
Really?
ones from Image, and they're all $1 each. So for $1, you can get issue 1 of the Department of Truth, James Tynion, Martin Simmons, and it'll be great. I highly recommend it. It's very, very good. I also recommend the week that the number ones came out, I picked up number 1. I did exactly what I just recommended people do if they're interested in this. Pick up issue 1, read it, and then go get the trade if you like it. For a long time, I've been hearing nothing but praise and accolades about a series called Sex Criminals. You ever heard about Sex Criminals? Yep. Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky.
Yep.
Together did
if you need
run.
nothing else to sell you on something, those two names will do it.
Right. Here's something that will either further sell you or turn you off completely. Sex Criminals is about 2 people who find out that when they have sex together, when they orgasm, they stop time for a limited amount of time. All around them, except for the 2 of them. So that's pretty much all I know about it, because that's about as much as you get in issue 1. I picked up issue 1 of Sex Criminals, and it's told from the woman's perspective about how she discovered this about herself when she was, growing up and going through puberty and all this stuff. And it's kind of like an analogy to puberty itself, like not knowing why things are happening, or is this only happening to me? Does this happen to everybody, kind of thing? Like, but on a grander scale, is this normal? Exactly. So, it was very funny. There was also a good amount of like pathos and structured story. Like you can tell that they're going somewhere with it. So yeah, I took a shot on issue 1, and I am pretty sure that I'm going to order the trade collection, collector edition of Sex Criminals, because it was great. So if there's other Image books that any of you out there that you've been wondering about, you can most likely, like Hack Slash. I'm trying to think of the other titles. Department of Truth,
Paper
Hack
Girls,
Slash, Sex
Paper
Criminals,
Girls
Paper Girls. Oh, Paper Girls is great.
Yeah,
definitely recommend Paper Girls. Because
actually they had them all up on the front counter there.
Yep.
And I walked in and I was like, oh, they reissued Paper Girls. Oh, they reissued Stray Dogs. Oh, they reissued like, huh.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they were all $1.
Yeah.
If that was the case, I would have just grabbed them all for the hell of it. Like they had like 7 or 8 titles that were all their Images. What do they call it? Images Finest, or it's on the spine there.
Image first. Well, this says Image First.
Okay,
so,
I
think they're just taking their
crop,
biggest runs, their biggest series, and reissuing, which is a cool idea, and it's working for me. Like I said, like I'm gonna be in the department. I'm gonna buy a Sex Criminals book. So and they got a bunch down.
We're not gonna clip that, by the way.
Yeah.
Just your audio of I'm gonna buy a Sex Criminals book.
I'm gonna buy a Sex Criminals book. Yeah. But yeah, and they got a bunch of these down at Funky Town. So if you're listening, you can head down there and grab yourself a copy. Steve, I know that kind of went longer than normal, but do you want to hit a couple of books that you read this week for your 1,000 book goal, or give us an update?
Yeah, we're still plugging along. Got through the update to Energon. I think I talked to you about TMNT Alpha.
Yes.
Which was the initial, the first thing we've seen from Jason Aaron in his Turtles expedition.
Right.
Similarly to what we talked about with Zdarsky and Fraction. If you hear Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Jason Aaron, it's like, well, okay, now I got to think about this.
Yeah.
Art was very reminiscent of old Eastman and Laird style, and the story kind of hit pretty solid. So I'm hoping, I think July is the official relaunch. So we'll see. I believe the first book is Raphael, and that will be the first 4 issues are each of the Turtles individually. I believe it's Raph, Mikey, Donnie, and Leo coming out subsequently.
Seems like a very Jason Aaron way to approach that, I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know. But seems cool. It's a cool idea for sure.
Yeah, so it was a pretty good relaunch, and the problem, it's one of those where you try and talk about it and you're like, it's going to give away too much of what was
Right.
being. It's a
Oh, yeah,
very
don't give it
very
away.
short story.
Mhm.
In a bigger kind of there was two different stories in the book. The other one I didn't really catch me much
Yeah.
based on other characters in the world, so I'm kind of
Eh,
wondering about that. But
can't all be winners.
hit Uncanny X-Men 700,
Ooh.
which is also X-Men 36 from Fall of X or whatever. But giant sized issue that is the official end of Fall of X. Great tie up, great story in general. Worthy of the 700 tag, worthy of ending Fall of X. Sets us up in a solid direction moving forward. So pleasant surprise there. Mostly because I completely forgot it was going to be 700 in the giant sized issue. I was like, why is this so thick? Oh, okay.
Oh, good
Um,
reasons.
yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, we're doing this for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't like an anthology I couldn't care less about or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
It was like, okay, this is tying things up and moving things along. Similarly to that, the Ultimates #1,
That's right.
which is the Ultimate Universe version of the Avengers, effectively, with Tony Stark being Iron Lad, not Iron Man. Yeah, there's a whole thing. I mean, Tony Stark as Iron Lad is what has been tied through these Ultimates books and the impetus for a lot of this and waking up these guys. So we'll see how it goes, see what
Interesting.
happens. Good intro to the team. Felt like it is going to. I'm curious. I'm still curious how Ultimate X-Men is going to fit into this, but feels like it fits with the rest of the Ultimate Universe. So
Cool.
more High Republic, Falling in Love, and then a whole bunch of House of M. I think officially finished it. So might have one or two more books to finish it up, but we are getting there. We're getting there.
Plugging along. Well, this week in your local comic book store, you may find the following books: Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt #2, Avengers 15, Batman and Robin #10, Batman Gotham by Gaslight, Kryptonian Age #1, Blood Hunt #3, Blue Beetle #10, DC Pride Uncovered #1, Deadpool #3, Dick Tracy #2, Fantastic Four #21, Giant Size Daredevil #1. Sticks out for me. Green Lantern #12, High on Life #1, Incredible Hulk #13, Little Black Book #4, Miles Morales Spider-Man #21, Plastic Death and Dolls #1, Scarlet Witch #1. Wasn't there just recently a Scarlet Witch #1 not long ago?
Yeah, the one that Orlando was doing, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe that was a reissue or something, or a reprint, and I didn't notice it, but whatever. Spider-Man Shadow of the Green Goblin #3, Star Wars Darth Vader #47, Suicide Squad Dream Team #4, Thundercats #5, Transformers #9, Ultimate X-Men #4, Vampirella #669, X-Men Blood Hunt Jubilee #1, and X-Men Heir of Apocalypse #1.
So remember when I said Orlando's run already had #1?
Yeah.
This is also Orlando's run.
We're just restarting it.
I guess.
Was it a different book?
Scarlet Witch
different
#1, June 12th, 2024, Steve Orlando.
What?
I don't know, sir. I don't know.
Weird.
Let's see if I can get to the bottom of this quick. If not, we'll give it up.
Well, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Is Jubilee still a vampire?
Shit.
Because it makes sense that she would get her own.
Yeah, I was going to say, no matter what, it makes sense that she's tied into this storyline.
Yeah.
But I can't remember.
Because at first I was like, why would Jubilee get her own Blood Hunt series? I was like, oh, wait. She definitely was a vampire for a while. I just don't know if she still is or not.
I don't know. I will not commit to that because I don't know the answer.
Okay. What are you pulling this week?
I mean,
you're still getting Incredible
Ultimate
Hulk?
X-Men, Hulk is still good. Beyond that might be it.
Nice.
Pretty late for me.
You're not doing Air of Apocalypse or anything?
I don't know. I'm curious about that. I might actually
I
get
don't know.
the Blood Hunt Jubilee because, I mean, it's a Jubilee book.
Yeah. And
why not?
I'm hearing good things about what Blood Hunt's been doing. I know we read the first issue.
Yeah.
But
There's just I see the problem is after like I made the dumb of committing to Fall of X and all that.
yeah,
But like
that was a dumb.
when there's that much going on, it almost just makes more sense to wait for a collected.
Yeah, right.
And like Blood Hunt, that first issue I was like, this is really good. And then I saw everything that was coming out. I'm like,
It's a
nope.
lot.
No, I think I'm trying to think of the last event that, like the last full blown crossover event that I did that for. And it might have been Absolute Carnage back in the day.
Oh yeah, I got the main line of that book,
Yeah.
but I didn't get all the spinoffs or anything.
And that was
So those are
also the
great.
only Carnage book I've ever read. And it was
Same.
good. It was great.
I thought it was great. Yeah, I
But
loved it.
yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we got one shot for you tonight, and relegated this to the one shots just because it's a bit of an offshoot from the nerdery that we normally talk about. Now we do often, mostly because I love it, talk about Alien when that's in the news, and it has been because we're getting a new movie and new show. New movie this year, new show next year. This is an Alien, but it is Predator, people. That's right. We got an update on a new Predator film. Elle Fanning is to be the lead in the next Predator movie, which will be called Badlands. This movie was greenlit after the success of Prey, the Predator prequel that came out 2 years ago,
So good.
I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And
It was I think it was late 22.
Yeah, I think so. Hulu exclusive, and became the most watched thing on Hulu, I think, ever, because
Yeah.
it was excellent, really, really good. Possibly my favorite Predator movie, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might be.
I mean, I like the first Predator a lot too, but Prey is so good. So
Like,
good.
Predator is a great movie that relies a lot on 80s tropes, whereas this feels like it's just a great movie.
Yeah. Predator is great because it is an 80s action movie.
Right.
With like muscle bound hunks and lunks. Being in an 80s action movie and then slowly realizing that they're in an 80s sci-fi horror movie. Which is
yeah.
But yeah, the testosterone is turned up to 11 on the original Predator. And which is good in its own way, and clearly that movie's a classic. But Prey knocks it out of the park for me. I think Prey is so good. This will see the return of the director Dan Trachtenberg, who did Prey. He also is known for 10 Cloverfield Lane. He's done a lot of other cool stuff, I believe.
Yeah.
He also co-wrote the new film along with the writer of Prey, Patrick Asen. So, returning team, I think bodes well. And there's no information on like what this movie is going to be about or where it might take place or who Elle Fanning is going to play. But I'm hoping that they've kind of like, there's been so many Predator sequels that have been bad.
Yeah.
I feel it's like they don't really know what to do with the character or how to use the character. But I think Prey really cracked like a code of like just have every movie be the Predator in a different time on Earth or whatever, a different time, a different location. And that's just the challenge. And that's what makes it different for the audience, and it's what makes it different for the characters, and they have to beat the Predator itself. So
for better or for worse, Prey was effectively Predator in that time period.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. It's like you take that setup and you just put that setup in a different time or a different people, like Comanche, a Comanche tribe in, hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
In the American West or, Pacific Northwest or whatever. Maybe, I don't know, like this is just because Elle Fanning was in The Great, which is a show that I saw a lot of on Hulu. But what this could literally be the Predator versus Catherine the Great. It could be set in like Russia
Right, because
before the turn of the century.
has been like noted as the working title.
Yes, yeah,
Could just be
but
code for whatever.
yeah, but I do think, I like Prey makes sense as a Predator title. Badlands doesn't tie in as directly, but I do think they have to get away from calling movies or at least in this franchise, they've already done it to death where it's like Predator, Predators, the Predator, like the Aliens thing.
Yep.
But I feel like you can't do any more versions of the word Predator, so you have to like call it something else. And like Prey was a genius title because it kind of flips it. But yeah, so who knows what Badlands will stick. And I don't know. I feel like a long time the rumor was the next Predator movie was going to be like in feudal Japan. It was going to be like samurais
That'd be a
versus
killer
Predator,
one.
which would be
Yeah.
awesome, right? So I can't imagine that Elle Fanning is going to be the lead in a movie that takes place in Japan. Feudal Japan, that would be a terrible idea.
No.
Yeah.
No,
So
I don't know if you could cast a more pasty white human.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know, give me like Civil War or times, or give me like American Revolution,
Elizabethan
French
England?
French Revolution, something like, like
Yeah.
Elizabethan England. Yeah. That would be there's a lot of cool setups for this. And the fact that it's the same director and writer as Prey gives me a lot of confidence. So
One
anyway.
thing I never noticed in the original until I pulled it up on Wikipedia, the original cast for Predator. Do you know who the voice of the Predator was?
He was going to be more than the voice. He was going to be in a suit. Wait, maybe I don't. The Predator was going to be played by Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Originally, yes.
Yeah.
It ended up being Kevin Peter Hall, who is a 7-foot tall actor, 7'2" tall, or 7'2"
Wow.
tall.
Yeah. Too tall.
Which actually worked out quite well for the imposing visage of the Predator. The voice of the Predator was none other than Autobots Assemble.
Wow, really?
Or Autobots Roll Out. Peter Cullen himself.
Wow. That would have been crazy. Have you ever seen, you can look up what the original Predator suit looked like, and everyone associated with that movie thanks their lucky stars that they didn't go with that, because it looks like a giant lobster.
I have to look this up.
Dude, it looks so bad. It would have been so bad. It would have been laughable. There's no way that we would have ever had a sequel to Predator.
Oh my God.
Bad. Yeah. Right?
Just what in the
so bad.
What?
Yeah. And so
and
it was going to be Jean-Claude Van Damme inside that giant red rubber suit. And then everyone realized none of this works. This is not working at all. And so thankfully, they had the idea in the script that you couldn't see the Predator for a while. So they could shoot a lot of the movie before they get finished, like the design work. But it was like a back to the drawing board kind of thing for that character.
Kind of like Jaws, where the shark broke.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many of these movies like worked out well because things got all FUBAR on set.
I know. And the other thing is, this is a story I've heard multiple times, so I believe it at this point. Whoever was the main like designer on Predator was on a plane sketching ideas for the Predator, and who happened to be sitting next to him on the plane? James Cameron. And James Cameron would like looked over and they talked about what he was designing for, and James Cameron goes, "You know what? I've always wanted to see something with like mandibles. That'd be cool if you could give it mandibles." So he did. And now we have a cool looking Predator alien with a mouth that opens like this with little like mandible teeth on it. Like,
that's awesome.
Thank God that dude was sitting next to James Cameron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would have had Jean-Claude Van Damme in that suit.
Exactly.
Also, I was today years old when I realized that the Predators actually have a species name.
Oh, I never remember what it is.
It's the Yautja.
Yautja. Yeah.
Like Yautja.
Yeah.
Did
wild.
not know that until right now.
I also don't think I need to know that. Like, I don't need to know anything about where predators come from or what their life is like. Like, I don't need to know any of that.
Yeah.
I just want them to be mysterious and show up and have weird dreads and weird net clothing and cool weapons and try to murder somebody.
Yeah. What? I never like. Now that you say that, I at various points I've thought about that. Like, what is up with the like?
So weird. Yeah.
Why? Like, I'm
It's
gonna
the
wear
80s.
3 strings across my body.
Yeah.
This is a
I think
great
it was
idea.
just like weird 80s fashion, to be honest with you, like mesh,
Yeah.
like torn punk rock mesh or whatever. They just put it on a giant 7-foot alien with
Right.
a mandible mouth.
Like the Predator wasn't going to be voguing anytime soon.
No, could have though. Clearly
True.
could have.
Yeah. Right. Striking a pose is right in this beast's wheelhouse.
I feel like it wasn't too long ago where I rewatched most of or all of the Predator films that I could get through.
Yep.
And that first one I hadn't seen in a really
That
long
I
time,
could
and
get
it
through.
is a lot of fun, and it is really great. And there's like, it's at least a minute long, a solid minute, maybe 2, of them just shooting guns into the jungle,
Oh yeah.
like, like straight,
Yeah.
like.
Like Carl Weathers
of the,
on
like-
that big heavy.
Yeah, it's like
And,
Carl Weathers or Bill Duke or somebody or Jesse Ventura,
Yep.
whoever. Like one of them thinks they see it, and so they just start
Everybody's
shooting,
just
and then
like going.
everyone
ham,
else
yeah.
just doesn't ask questions and also start shooting in the jungle, and they just keep shooting at like just empty trees
with the unlimited
for
ammunition.
so long. It just never
Yes.
stops. It's the longest scene ever. They're not even hitting anything.
No.
But I was like, this is like just so, like I said earlier, testosterone cranked up all the way. That movie's drenched with just muscle sweat and straight testosterone.
Oh, Bill Duke's from Poughkeepsie. I didn't know that.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Learned something today.
Yeah, cool.
That and the species name of the predators.
That's right. Well, we aim to be educational here
Absolutely.
at the Multiverse Report, but unfortunately, we talked way more about Predator than I expected we would at the end of that one shot. But that's all. Do you have
we
anything
really
else,
did.
Steve?
No, I don't. Outside of you should check out Mike and his amazing Star Wars following now on Threads,
I don't
and
think
also
that's
check
true,
out
but-
the Multiverse Report at the Multiverse Report because that's what our handle is. And multiverseport.com, multiverseport@gmail.com. Leave us a review on all of your podcatchers of choice. Apple Podcasts, if you do leave us a 5-star review, we will read it on air. We will also eat anything you put out there for a recipe within reason. For record, there is a asterisk on that.
Yeah. That's to be a recipe. You can't just
Yeah.
say like eat a bag of rocks or something. Like we're not going to do that.
I mean, if they're very small rocks, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah. Check us out on YouTube. Some of you already are. If you are not, hit the like and subscribe button, and you'll know when we go live. You can hear Mike and I rant about whatever.
That's right.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's about all I got.
All right. So as the 2 suns set over the burnt bodies of Owen, Baru, Lars, we say thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you in the multiverse.